There are moments when something feels off. You cannot fully explain it. You cannot clearly point to it. But you can feel it. A subtle shift. A slight tension. Something that does not sit quite right. And because it is not obvious, you may try to ignore it. You tell yourself, it is nothing. That you are overthinking. That you are reading too much into it. But the feeling remains. Quiet. Consistent. In the background. That is where this becomes important. Because not everything you notice comes as a clear thought. Sometimes it comes as a feeling. A sense that something is not fully aligned. A feeling that arrives before the explanation does. I think this is one of the hardest experiences to trust. Because the modern instinct is to only believe what can be explained immediately. If you cannot prove it, you dismiss it. If you cannot name it, you question yourself. If nobody else reacts, you assume you imagined it. But your mind does not only process information in words. It also processes patterns, changes in behavior, shifts in tone, small inconsistencies, things that do not fully match what is being said. And when those patterns do not align, you feel it. Not as a neat answer. Not as a sentence. As discomfort. As hesitation. As that quiet internal pause that says, something about this is not landing cleanly. That feeling is not random. It is information. Not complete information. Not fully formed. But something your mind has already begun to notice. Let me bring this into something more real. You are in a conversation and everything seems normal. The conversation flows. Nothing is obviously wrong. But something about it feels slightly off. Maybe it is the way something was said. Or not said. Maybe it is a shift in how someone responds to you. A slight delay. A different tone. A form of politeness that feels colder than before. You cannot fully explain it. So you question yourself. Maybe I am overthinking. Maybe it is not that serious. Maybe I am just sensitive today. But the feeling stays. And over time, it becomes harder to ignore. That matters. Because what stays often deserves attention. Not panic. Not immediate reaction. Attention. This does not only happen in conversations, it happens in decisions too. You may be choosing something that makes complete sense logically. It looks right. It sounds right. It may even be the smart choice on paper. But something does not feel right. And your mind keeps returning to it. Not to confuse you. Not to sabotage you. To understand what is not aligning. Or you may notice this in environments. A place that looks fine, but does not feel comfortable. Nothing is visibly wrong. But you feel slightly tense. Slightly alert. Like your body has registered something before your mind has explained it. That is another kind of knowing. Subtle. Pre-verbal. Easy to dismiss if you have been taught not to trust it. And that is where people often get stuck. They try to override the feeling with logic. They tell themselves there is no reason to feel this way. Everything looks fine. So they ignore it. But ignoring it does not remove it. It just delays understanding. Because that feeling is part of your awareness. It is your mind connecting information before it becomes fully conscious. Now this is where a little balance matters. Not every off feeling means danger. Not every strange moment means something terrible is happening. And that is important too. Because awareness becomes stronger when it is calm, not dramatic. The goal is not to react to every feeling immediately. The goal is not to dismiss every feeling either. The goal is the middle space, where you observe, where you stay aware, where you let the pattern reveal itself before you force an answer. That is a very different way of moving through life. It sounds like this. Something feels off. I do not know what it means yet. But I do not need to gaslight myself out of noticing it. That is maturity. That is refinement. That is what allows awareness to become useful instead of overwhelming. So instead of asking, "What is wrong with me for feeling this?" ask something more accurate. What might I be noticing that I have not yet fully understood? Do not rush that question. The answer often comes gradually. In repeated moments. In consistent patterns. In things that keep feeling the same way over time. And once those pieces connect, the feeling becomes clearer. Not louder. Not more dramatic. Just understood. That is often how intuition works in ordinary life. Not as magic. not as instant certainty, as early pattern recognition, as the body and mind noticing something before language catches up. So if something feels off, pause. You may not have the full picture yet, but that does not mean there is nothing there. It may simply mean you are in the early stage of understanding something important. And once it becomes clear, you may realize something very simple. You sensed it before you could explain it. And maybe that has been true more often than you allowed yourself to admit.